This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Hello and welcome to War Horses, the only college equestrian podcast that has some good news about one of the smaller programs and what they accomplished this weekend. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Let's talk about some college equestrian. Well, before we get to that good news, first we want to look at the meets that happened this week in our meet recaps. First meet to take a look at, Lynchburg at Sweetbriar. Now, the prediction for this was a 5-5 tie, and we like to give the tiebreaker to the home team, so that would be Sweetbriar. Let's see what really happened. In fences, that went 3-2 for Lynchburg, and flat went 3-2 for Sweetbriar. That produced a 5-5 tie, and homestanding Sweetbriar, they won it 770.5 points to 748.5 points. So, good job to the Vixens. It was tough. Lynchburg is good. There's a reason they're number one, but Sweetbriar did get the home victory with all the advantages of riding on their home horses, and they pulled it out. But still, good job for the Hornets there. Even with this loss, they're not going to move down in my rankings. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. They're the best team. They're the best team in the nation in the single discipline right now. All right, we're going to keep going. Next meet to look at, Minnesota Crookston at UT Martin. The prediction for this was UT Martin 14, Minnesota Crookston 4. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 3-2 for UT Martin. Flat went 3-1 for UT Martin. Horsemanship was a 5-0 sweep for UT Martin, and reining was a 4-1 victory for UT Martin. That made the final score 15-4 in favor of the Skyhawks. So this one was pretty close to what the predicted score was. Again, nice dominant win for the Skyhawks here. We kind of expected this. They're basically the second best team in the ECAC right now, and they got it done. For Minnesota Crookston, well, it's hard to go on the road to face these more established teams, and they're doing the best they can. They got 4 points. That's still pretty good. Moving right along, we have Delaware State at UT Martin. So now it was the Hornets' turn to go up against the Skyhawks. The prediction for this was UT Martin 12, Delaware State 8. Let's see what really happened. Fences was a 5-0 sweep for UT Martin. Flat was 4-0, so a dirty sweep for UT Martin. Horsemanship was 4-1 for UT Martin, and reining was a 3-2 win for Delaware State. That made the final score 15-4 in favor of UT Martin. So this one was even more went even heavier for the Skyhawks. So yeah, just a good weekend for them. They hosted their fellow conference rivals and just beat the brakes off of them. Elsewhere in the ECAC, we have UC Davis at South Dakota State. The prediction for this was a South Dakota State win 10-8. Let's see what really happened. In fences, that went 4-1 for UC Davis. Flat went 3-2 for UC Davis. Horsemanship went 3-2 for South Dakota State, and reining went 3-1 for South Dakota State. That made the final score 10-9 in favor of UC Davis. So this one was a flip of what the stats thought it would be. Still very close. Good win for UC Davis. Man, go on the road. They are undefeated in conference play. And yeah, they continue to look like the class of the ECAC this year. For South Dakota State, I'm sure they wanted that win. It needed one more ride to go their way, and they could have had it in the tiebreaker maybe. But just one or two more rides, if they'd flipped them, they would have won this. But still a good showing for South Dakota State for the Jackrabbits, but they just didn't quite get it done. Next meet to take a look at, TCU at Baylor. The prediction for this was a 10-10 tie with the tiebreaker going to Baylor. Let's see what really happened. Fences was a 3-2 win for TCU. Flat was a 3-2 win for Baylor. Horsemanship was a 4-1 win for Baylor, and reining was a 2-2 draw. So, add all that up, that made the final score Baylor 11, TCU 8. So here we've got, it was close to what the stats predicted, but the Baylor did just a tiny bit better. Basically, it was how well they did in horsemanship. Man, you wouldn't expect TCU to give up that many points in horsemanship, but Baylor, they were on fire in horsemanship. So good job. This is the best horsemanship performance by Baylor all season. So good job to those ladies for that. We got two more meets to go. I'm going to jump over to the one that most of my listeners care about, SMU at Auburn. The prediction for this was Auburn 14, SMU 6. Let's see what really happened. Let's see. You know what? I'll go in the order that this occurred just so you get how things went down. First, there was a big old rainstorm that came through, so everything got pushed back by an hour because of the lightning, and the ground was just so wet. And the Western events actually got going earlier than the jumping seat because they're covered, and you can just go ahead said, everything was dry for them. So Raining got things started. Auburn won that 3-2, which is pretty good because Auburn is a little shaky in Raining, so they had a good performance there. Equitation on the flat was going on out in the jumping seat arena, and Auburn won that one 4-1. So right there at the half, Auburn had the big lead, and yeah, a 7-3 lead. So the Tigers were in control with their two best events still coming up. So horsemanship got going first in the second half, and well, the Tigers won that one 4-1, and that made everything what was that, 11-4 at that point. So the meet was sealed, and fences had not even gotten started yet, and Auburn had already won the day. Well, SMU did really well in fences. They won that 3-2. Auburn probably should have won that, but maybe they eased up a little bit, although you hope they don't, but they did. I mean, Glenn knocked a bar off one of the darn fences, and once that happens, she's probably not going to win her points. She did not. So yeah, I mean, anyway, not the best day for the fences crew, but it really didn't matter because everybody was over there partying, and yeah, because the day was there. So Auburn ended up winning this one 13-7. Not quite as big as what the stats projected, but close. I mean, we thought it was going to be 14-6. It ended up 13-7. That's pretty close. So anyway, yeah, if Auburn done just a little bit better in fences, they'd have done it. So anyway, oh well. But good job, especially by the Western crew. Those ladies, they anchored the whole day. I mean, that was just, boy, they turned it up. Good job to them. And the last meet that we want to talk about is the one that I alluded to in the opening, Minnesota Crookston versus Delaware State. Now, this was a neutral site meet, and it was 4-on-4. Let's see. Oh, well, the prediction was Delaware State 12, Minnesota Crookston 3. So let's see what really happened. Fences was a 2-2 draw. Flat went 3-1 for Minnesota Crookston. Horsemanship was a 2-2 draw, and Raining went 3-1 for Minnesota Crookston. Add that up, and that is a 10-6 victory for Minnesota Crookston. Now, why is this important? Well, first, this is the most points Minnesota Crookston has ever scored in a meet, and they won the darn meet. This is their only win, their first win. I mean, they're going to get some more wins, but they have been at this for about 5 years now, and they've been plugging away, coming up short every meet. They finally got a win. Good job to them, and a shout out to their head coach, Haley Pembroke, who former Auburn rider that we've had on the show years ago. We interviewed her, so it's good to see her finally getting some success there. They're building that program up, so good job for them. If it's Pembroke, don't fix it. All right, so that was all of the action for this week. Now, let's take a look at the impact it had on the official Auburn Elvis College Equestrian rankings. And I'll just go ahead and give you a spoiler. Things don't change too much unless you get some really crazy results. And I don't know if you were paying attention when I was going through all the meet recaps, but everything more or less went as expected. I mean, that Minnesota Crookston win was the one that we just did not expect. Also, UC Davis won when we kind of expected them to lose, so good job for them. And yeah, okay, so here we go. Number 1 is Auburn. All right, so the Tigers are going to remain number 1. They got the win at home. I'll tell you, winning at home or losing away really doesn't matter too much. What's really important is, do you win away or do you lose at home? And when you look at Auburn's record, they have beaten SMU, TCU, and UT Martin on the road, and they have no home losses. So that's a pretty good resume. I mean, not a pretty good, that's a great resume. That's the best resume in the country. So undisputed number 1, Auburn. All right, number 2 in my rankings is Georgia. Now, the NCEA punished Georgia for losing on the road.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew, too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
Which they shouldn't have done that, but they did. And they bumped South Carolina up to number 2 because the South Carolina has recently won at home versus Auburn and at home versus Georgia. And they totally neglect the fact that when South Carolina goes on the road against those exact same team, they lose by as much or more. So it all averages out, and frankly, it doesn't quite average out. It's actually comes out in a detriment to the Gamecocks. But, the rankings people don't don't pay attention to these. They struggle with recency bias. I mean, if you win 3 in a row at home against just anybody, you're going to get moved up the rankings. Whereas if you go out and narrowly lose on the road to a high-ranked opponent, they go, oh, you lost. Well, let's move you down. It's like, what? Come on. That makes no sense. Anyway, Georgia has gone on the road. They have beaten Delaware State on the road, UT Martin on the road, and Texas A&M on the road. They have no home losses. They're good. I mean, they swept Texas A&M, beat them both at home and away, and nobody else has done that. So that right there, they're better than South Carolina just because of that right there, okay? Because here is who South Carolina has beaten on the road. They've beaten Baylor and UT Martin. Now, they do also have some neutral site wins against UC Davis and South Dakota State, but none of those teams are at the top or even in the middle of the rankings. They're all near the bottom. So it's impressive what they've done. And of course, South Carolina has no home losses either, so that's great. But their resume is not quite as good as Georgia. So please, people, just quit with your recency bias and just saying, oh, well, you won at home, therefore I'm going to move you up. It's more complicated than that. So all that to say, South Carolina is number 3. Okay, number 4. Now, here is one where I'm very surprised at the NCEA people because they normally really go crazy over Oklahoma State about this time of year. This year, if you've been listening the past couple of weeks, you'll understand that why I'm surprised about that, because Oklahoma State has the weakest schedule of any of the Power Conference teams. They don't ride against anybody in the SEC. Now, that said, they have a good resume for their schedule, okay? They have away wins at UC Davis, Baylor, and Fresno State. But again, those are all ranked near the bottom. And they have no home losses, which is great. And, they got home wins against SMU, Baylor, TCU, and they've lost on the road the one time they went on the road. Well, that's true. They didn't lose to UC Davis, Baylor, or Fresno State when they went on the road. But anyway, against a good team, they lost on the road. And they're going to finish their season at SMU, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, they're going to lose that, all right? If they come up and defeat SMU at home, well then, yeah, I'll move Oklahoma State up to darn number 2 because at that point, there's no reason not to. But I can tell you right now, they're going to lose to SMU in a couple weeks. Anyway, Oklahoma State is number 4. Yeehaw! All right, number 5. This is where things get tricky. And if you're different than me on this, okay, I'll allow it. This week, I have Texas A&M at number 5. Which means I have SMU at number 6. I keep flopping these teams. They're basically they're the same. Okay, they're of equal value. Texas A&M on the road, they have beaten UC Davis. SMU on the road has beaten Baylor. Very comparable teams. They have each lost at home. Okay, Texas A&M has lost at home to Georgia, and SMU has lost at home to Auburn. Again, very comparable teams there. And then the home wins and away losses, those are, it's what you would expect. So I'm not even going to go over that. All that to say, if you think Texas A&M is better than SMU, I agree with you this week. If you think SMU is better than Texas A&M, okay, that's fine. I agreed with you last week on that. So just, yeah, this one, they're the same team. If I could put them both at number 5, I would, but there you go. So number 7 is a team that has distinguished themselves a little bit, but not enough to get in that conversation with SMU and Texas A&M, and that is TCU. So TCU, their away wins are South Dakota State, and that's it. But they do have a neutral site win over Delaware State. Okay, so that's pretty good. And they have a home loss to Auburn. Okay, which again, same thing that SMU does. So it's almost as good as SMU and Texas A&M's resume, but South Dakota State isn't quite as good as UC Davis or Baylor, so that's kind of why they slide down to number 7. Okay, so now let's get to the last spot if this were trying to get into the 8-team playoff, and that is number 8, Fresno State. But I need to also talk about number 9, UC Davis. And number 10, Baylor. Okay, so they all have resumes that are very similar. Oh, and I'm also going to talk about UT Martin, even though, spoiler, I do not have UT Martin ranked. Let's look at their away wins. Fresno State has no away wins. Baylor has no away wins. UC Davis has beaten Delaware State and South Dakota State away. UT Martin has no away wins. So, neutral site wins. What do we got there? Well, for Fresno State, no neutral site wins. Baylor has no neutral site wins. UC Davis has a neutral site win over UT Martin, and UT Martin has a neutral site win over Minnesota Crookston. So then they've got the commensurate home wins and away losses, which you would expect. And then they all have home losses. Fresno State has a home loss to Oklahoma State. Baylor has a home loss to South Carolina, SMU, and Oklahoma State. UC Davis has a home loss to Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. Man, Oklahoma State's really running it up on these lower-ranked teams. And then UT Martin has a home loss to South Carolina, Georgia, and Auburn. So all that to say, these four teams, they're very close together. So I rank it where Fresno State's 8, UC Davis is 9, and Baylor is 10. The last couple of weeks, I've had Baylor a little bit ahead of UC Davis. This week, with Davis going on the road like that, I'm going to bump them up. Even though Baylor did win at home, again, you got to show me something on the road. And Davis did that. Now, if Baylor had Davis's schedule, they probably would have the same record as Davis, maybe even better. If Davis had Baylor's schedule, would they have the same record? Would it be worse? Would it be better? Don't know. But you go with what you got, and that's what you got. Unfortunately for UT Martin, you come out as that one team that would be number 11 in my rankings, but I don't go down that far, and then the rest of the teams after that. Those are the rankings for the dual discipline teams. Over in the single discipline teams, man, it gets even more confusing, except for number 1. Number 1 is Lynchburg. Lynchburg has an away win at Swanee, and they got no home losses, and then they got the usual stuff you would expect, winning at home, losing away. But that's better. That resume is better than anybody else's. So they're number 1, no question. These next teams are basically interchangeable. And I'm not going to change them from last time, even though I could. But if you have something different, okay, that's fine. I'm going to quit complaining about if you've got Charleston up at number 2 or you've got Sacred Heart at number 2, whatever. Do whatever you want. It's a free-for-all from number 2 down to number 6. Here's how I order it. Dartmouth is still number 2. Sacred Heart is still number 3. Sweetbriar is still number 4. Charleston is still number 5. And Bridgewater is still number 6. But any of those teams might be better than the others or worse, and who knows? And here's why. Ain't none of them won away. Well, actually, Bridgewater did beat Swanee away. Same thing that Lynchburg did. And then none of them have lost at home. So everything they've done is winning at home or losing away, which is, again, kind of expected, given the fact that you're riding on your home horses, and that's a big advantage. So Dartmouth might be number 6. Sacred Heart might be number 2. They might be number 6. I don't know what they are, but I have to order them, so this is how I order them. Frankly, I want to put them all number 2 because that's what they are. Well, I don't mean it like that. You know what I mean. They're ranked second position. How about that? All right, so after those teams, then we get down to number 7, and I'm pretty sure number 7 is Barry.
Your favorite local grocery stores like Kroger, Ralph's, Fred Meyer, and more are now delivering on Uber Eats. Get 40% off your order of fresh, quality ingredients. Whether you just got home to an empty fridge or suddenly got a craving to whip up something new, you can get everything you need delivered in as little as 25 minutes. Get 40% off your order with code Kroger2026. Plus, members get $0 delivery fees. Order now on Uber Eats. Orders of $30 or more save up to $25. Ends 4/30/26. See app for details.
This episode is brought to you by Stouffer's. Here comes 3-time juggling champion Natalia Rogers. She's juggling law school, her TA job. Oh, narrowly catches the laundry. What's that 4th ball? Parents unexpectedly showed up at dinner time? Is that too much for Natalia? Not with Stouffer's Chicken Alfredo and its mouth-watering mix of Asiago, Romano, and Parmesan. When you're juggling 4 things at once and the clock strikes dinner, think Stouffer's.
So the Vikings, they have not won away. They have not lost at home. They've got a home win against Bridgewater, and then they've lost away at Auburn.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed-sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
Charleston and Swanee. Kind of expect. Swanee is a little bit worse than that. They have no away wins, but they do have a neutral site win against Minnesota Crookston, but they have some home losses to Lynchburg and Bridgewater, so that bumps them down. But they're still a little bit better than number 9, Centenary.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
Centenary is 0 for 7, so they've got all away losses plus a neutral site loss to TCU, and Centenary is still plugging away. We'll see if things change for them, but they canceled the one meet they were going to host. That was their best chance of getting a win, so not much you can do when you do that. So anyway, that is the rankings. I know it's a little confusing. Boy, I do not envy how they're going to get seeded and do everything for the darn tournaments, but 2 through 6 is just a big old log jam. So it's who's going to go and ride against Lynchburg in the national championship is what it looks like right now. Okay, so we're done with the rankings. Now let's look into the future with some meet previews. First meet we got coming up, Fresno State at TCU. Ran the stats on this, and here's what the computers say. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for TCU. Flat is predicted to go 3-2 for TCU. Horsemanship is predicted to go 3-1 for TCU, and reining is predicted to go 3-1 for TCU. If all that happens, it would make the final score TCU 12, Fresno State 6. All right, so the computers like the home team here, and there you go. So we'll see if that happens. Next meet to talk about, Sweetbriar at Swanee. Several teams have beaten Swanee at Swanee. Can the Vixens do it? If they could, that might help them move on up the rankings, although frankly, who knows? Anyway, let's just talk about what the prediction is. Fences is predicted to go 2-1 for Sweetbriar, and Flat is predicted to be a 2-2 tie. If all that happens, that would make the final score Sweetbriar 4, Swanee 3. Kind of a close meet, lots of ties, but again, the Vixens, statistically, they're better even with the home horse bump that the Tigers would get, so we'll see if that happens. Next meet, Centenary at Lynchburg. Whew, I gotta tell you, not much chance here for Centenary because, the winless team going on the road and having to face the number 1 team in the nation, it's a tall order. And the stats agree. Fences is predicted to be a 5-0 sweep for Lynchburg, and the Flat is predicted to go 4-1 for Lynchburg. If that happens, that would make the final score Lynchburg 9, Centenary 1. We got a lot of single discipline meets going on this weekend. Lynchburg at Charleston. So apparently the Hornets are going to go over to Charleston after they have a home meet. Interesting. That happens sometimes. They can do that. That could be a mistake in the calendar. Sometimes they get a mistake in the calendar, but we're gonna trust them at their word. If all this happens, Fences is predicted to be a 3-1 win for Lynchburg on the road. Flat is predicted to be a 2-2 tie. If that happens, that would make the final score Lynchburg 5, Charleston 3. Woo! So here we go. We got this would be interesting if that really happened, because again, the computers like the home teams, and here again, if Lynchburg could pull off a win on the road, that would put them head and shoulders above everybody else. But if Charleston were to upset Lynchburg, that would look good for the Cougars, and that would keep them jammed up in that log jam that I was talking about earlier. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Next meet to look at, Fresno State at Oklahoma State. Fences is predicted to go 4-1 for Oklahoma State. Flat is predicted to go 3-1 for Oklahoma State. Horsemanship is predicted to go 4-1 for Oklahoma State. And reining is predicted to go 4-0 for Oklahoma State. If that happens, it would make the final score a whopping Oklahoma State 15 to Fresno State 3. So again, riding at home, you got lots of advantages. Oklahoma State is a better team to begin with. So yeah, it could be pretty one-sided for the Cowgirls there. All right, back we go over to the single discipline action. Centenary at Charleston. Fences is predicted to be a 5-0 sweep for Charleston, and the flat is predicted to go 4-0 for Charleston, the dirty sweep. And if all that happens, that would make the final score Charleston 9, Centenary 0. So this would be a rough weekend for poor Centenary if this happened, but you got to take your lumps. Just talk to, Minnesota Crookston. You got to hang in there, keep going at it. Eventually good things will happen. Our last meet of the weekend, this is the one that's important for most of my listeners, Auburn at Georgia. Auburn is number 1. I have Georgia number 2. What's going to happen? Well, the stats like the home team, so I'm just warning you there. A little bit of foreshadowing. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for Auburn. Flat is predicted to go 3-2 for Georgia. Horsemanship is predicted to go 3-1 for Auburn, and reining is predicted to be a 5-0 sweep for Georgia. If all that happens, that would make the final score Georgia 11, Auburn 8. So, yeah, this could happen. Yeah, Auburn could get swept in reining. They've been doing better lately, Auburn's reining squad. So, yeah, we'll see. But again, going on the road like this, it's tough. If Auburn could keep it this close, that would still look good for Auburn and suggest that they're still one of those top teams. So, yeah. But I will also say that this one will, if Georgia does win, they're going to sew up the regular season race for the SEC. They will finish number 1 guaranteed if they win this. If Auburn were to get the upset, well, it wouldn't be an upset in terms of rankings, but it would be an upset in terms of statistics. If Auburn were to beat Georgia in this one, Auburn would be would be 1 win away from being the number 1 seed. And this year, I would say being number 1 seed is kind of important because it would mean that you get to skip South Carolina, who has they have locked up 3rd place. Texas A&M is now going to finish 4th no matter what happens when they face Auburn, and South Carolina is going to finish 3rd. So really what you want to do is you would rather ride against Texas A&M this year. Now, again, all these teams are good, so who knows? If you could finish 1st and ride against number 4, that's really what you want to do this year. But we'll see how it goes. All right, final thoughts. Well, I talked about Minnesota Crookston, and man, that really is cool. I'll tell you what, any of you riders, you ladies out there, go on over to their Instagram page or whatever and throw a heart their way for that, because this was their darn first win in program history. And they've been struggling for 5 years to get this win, and they finally did it. So just hats off to those ladies for keeping at it, and just have some good sportsmanship and give them a congratulations, because, man, they earned it. And even for South Dakota State, I know y'all were the product of this historical moment for them, and you don't like it, but it's over. Nothing you can do about it. So you might as well be good sports about it as well and say, hey, good job. Glad y'all got that first program win. Good job, Minnesota Crookston. War Golden Eagles. Yeah. Well, that is all for this episode. No, wait. I got one more final thoughts. I don't know if y'all been keeping up with this UC Davis story. Man, but I follow one of their, Save Davis Instagram accounts, and there's a video they have of one of the rider's moms. I won't say who the rider is, but boy, this lady is used to speaking in front of people, boy. She goes through all the points, and she is business, and I got to tell you, I hope she never takes issue with the favorite statistics for her daughter that I might throw out, because this lady, I don't want to get on her bad side. So hopefully that will resolve itself in a positive way over at UC Davis. But yeah, man, the things that they're alleging that the athletic department might have kind of stretched the truth a little bit on some of them numbers. That's not good. You hate to see that. So maybe maybe something positive will come out of all this, but you feel bad about for the riders, because especially the ones that were recruited there under the supposedly under this dream of, hey, you're going to be here for 4 years and you're going to go through this program, and then they get the rug jerked out from under them. That ain't no fun. So yeah, but yeah, if you want to see a lady who knows her business and just says, hey, we're upset about this, here's some things that are suspicious, go look at that video. That lady is on point. All right, so now we're at the end of the episode. That's all for this one. I am your host, Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening, and war horses.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.